This is Geek News Central. My name is Todd Cochran, coming to you from FEMA Region 5 and the New Media Production Studio Hideout, designed by Automute.com in Coldwater, Michigan. The lead stories are, and I goofed up, Discover Podcast with Google Podcasts now on iOS. United Launch Alliance put the first satellite in space for the U.S. Space Force. FBI has arrested a man for hawking fake coronavirus prevention pills. And Airbnb is asking its host to provide 100,000 free rentals to the first responders. I want to welcome you to episode 1000, I can't even talk tonight. I want to welcome you to episode 1433 of the Geek News Central podcast for Thursday, March 26th. This show is sponsored in part by GoDaddy.com and listeners just like you. Great deals from GoDaddy can be found at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. And you can support this show today at geeknewscentral.com/insider. We are live once again on Facebook. We're on Twitch. We're on Twitter. We're at live.geeknewscentral.com. We're at geeknewscentral.com/live. We're really everywhere you are and maybe. And of course, I want you to stand by tonight. We have a special announcement. We're going to have fun at the end of the show. We'll talk about that here in a second for those of you that are live and hanging out. And of course, we want to welcome all the brand new listeners to the show. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of the family. And of course, we want you to get over to geeknewscentral.com, check out all the website, and we want you to get subscribed to the show when you're on there. You can do that via Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn. Subscribe on Android, by Stitcher, by email, or the standard RSS feed. We, of course, want you to subscribe to the newsletter when you're on the website as well. That's linked all at geeknewscentral.com. You can listen to the show on blueberry.com, or you can listen on your smart home device by saying the magic word to launch that device and say, play the podcast, Geek News Central. You can join us on our Discord channel or over on geeknews.chat. We've got a great chat room over there. Of course, we're on Slack as well. So if you want to be part of our Slack team, all you got to do is send me an email. That's the easiest way to stay connected to the show at geeknews@gmail.com. And of course, you can always reach me at Twitter at Geek News. Our partner shows are all linked to Geek News Central, GNC Week in Review done by our executive producer here, Kurt Corliss, the Gadget Professor with Mr. Don Bain, the Pro Gear site written by my team. New article up there today. The New Media Show, co-hosted by myself, Mr. Rob Glee, and the now pod-faded Podcast Legend Show. You can always pick up Ohana gear at cafepress.com/Ohana store. And of course, this show has the longest running continuous sponsor of a podcast, that's our good friends at GoDaddy.com. GoDaddy's going to save you a lot of money on domain names. It's going to save you money on hosting accounts. If you're a business owner, we have something for you, even 30% off discount codes for people that already are customers at GoDaddy. We want you to take advantage of all those codes by really just getting over there, clicking on the link, save the money, or copy the promo code, whether it be, again, that 30% off new product purchase, the $4.99.com, the $1 a month economy hosting for the first year with a free domain, or the $1 a month managed WordPress hosting for the first year with a free domain. And for you business owners, a free trial of GoDaddy Website Builder, your choice of personal business or business plus plans. You get a 1-month free trial over there. All these codes can be used at GoDaddy. And the best part of it is if you have an issue, if you ever have a problem with our good friends at GoDaddy, then what we do is we go to bat for you. You let me know if there's a problem, and I'll take it to the office of the president and let them know that you aren't happy and share with them that information. But again, lots of great stuff, lots of great deals at GoDaddy. Definitely check those all out. Again, geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. Get you to the website, get you to the page. Share that code with your friends, family members, people that you know. You're not in the office right now, so it's not like you can do anything around the oil cooler. So why not? You're stuck at home. It's time. It's time. You've been waiting. It's time to make a decision to make this jump. It's time to get on board. It's time to get a website set up, maybe start a podcast. This is a perfect time for it. We want you to consider that. But again, all those codes at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy will get you lined up to do that. And I want to thank GoDaddy for being a longtime sponsor here at the show. So I've got two things today and that I want to talk about. First thing we're going to do is at the end of the show today, let's see what I've got lined up here. At the end of the show, I'm going to take some calls. And if you want to come on and participate and have a conversation, I'll keep putting this up later. I'll keep this up during the show today so that you'll know where to call in. But you can call in via Skype. And if you want, you can come hang out with me and then have a chit chat at the end of the show. And we can talk about what was covered in the show or just stuff in tech. And I know many of you are going a little bit stir crazy. So that's giving an opportunity to do that. Also, one thing that I got a messenger from a friend of mine today. And he says, Todd, what tools are you using to collaborate? And I basically told him we use Slack a lot, and we use Zoom, and we use GoToMeeting, and a variety of tools like that. But he is a Govy. He works for the government. He's got a government computer at home. And let me tell you something, there's nothing more locked down than a government computer. From back in the day, I remember we had GoToMeeting loaded on our government computers. I don't know if that's still on there or not. I'm a big GoToMeeting fan. Matter of fact, GoToMeeting used to be a sponsor of the show in the very early days. And so I think the really answer, and Skip, I think you were on the chat here earlier. Skip, Mike, thanks for joining on. Is you need to call basically the IT dude or whoever's in charge of what's preloaded on your computer. Say, hey, I'm working remote. You got me working at home. I'm trying to stay within the rules and do collaboration and work with teammates. And sure, we both could just do FaceTime with our our commercially available phones, but Uncle Sugar doesn't really look at you favorably when you do that. Maybe they've lessened the exceptions at this point. I don't know. But I think you have to basically talk to your IT folks and see if you can get a push. Zoom.us, maybe you want to try that. That's a web-based application. Maybe it'll work. Or GoToMeeting is the two that where you can actually see each other. Again, maybe even Messenger. You're going to have to play around with it to see what it allows, because, and usually those machines are underpowered to begin with, and sometimes the cameras aren't turned in. You can't plug something into them. It's just that you plug an unauthorized device in a government machine, and it's like lights out. They don't play around. They don't want any devices plugged into those machines that do not belong, for good reason. So, Skip, I think just go ask your team, what are they authorized to use? I think that'll help you. So, but yeah, I feel for you. I understand completely with it used to drive me crazy because to transfer files from you take anything above 5 megs, the email system in the U.S. government computers would not allow you to email anything bigger than 5 megs. So then you'd have to use the services that was set up by the Army and the Air Force to basically put a file into a Dropbox situation. You had a special code, you emailed that code to the recipient, then they would have 3 days to download that media if they had a good connection and be able to get that file. It was very convoluted. You had to use your CAC card. There was all kinds of security involved, and it was legal. It was just the way you had to work within the constraints. And many of these machines, I'm sure, that were never set up to be Go VPN. Probably everyone said, go home, you take your laptop home, and it really hasn't been set up for remote computing. And then can you plug it into your home Ethernet? Usually not. How do you connect? Is it Wi-Fi to your personal mobile device? And it's crazy. So I'd anyone out there that's a Govy that's stuck at home that listen to the show, what is your organization's doing? geeknews@gmail.com. So hi, Jody. How are you? Thanks for joining the live show. And thanks for being here. So anyway, what else? let us move into the stack of stuff that I'm going to have here today. And Kirk didn't do the prep today. He's about, you know what it is. Everyone's working at home. We're in new environments. Maybe we don't have the best chair. Maybe the working space we're in is like away from the kids, but you really are not in this environment that you're used to working in. And I know that it always can be a challenge. I know I've done this for many years. I'm kind of used to it. We told our employees at Blueberry, matter of fact, I was asking them, are you comfortable? And, one of the gals, I'm sitting on a stool. I said, no, go into the office, get your chair. And the next day she said, my chair won't fit in my car. So I told Angelo, go to the office, get her chair, take it to her house so that she has a good chair to sit in. We told him, take whatever you need from the office to be comfortable. We really can't take the desk because of the way the desks are set up and wired in. But we truly tried to kind of make it as comfortable, tell people if they need to buy stuff, just expense it. We wanted to make sure that everyone was functional and had the monitors they needed. And it's hard. So Kirk is in a situation right now where he's working from home. His kids are home, his wife's home, and everything else is going on. He doesn't have a completely comfortable place to work in. And he says, my back is done. And so this is a real issue. We all work in workspaces that have ergonomics in mind. We have teams that, at least in my company, we went into a thought process of making sure that everyone was going to be comfortable. And I will even admit the chair that I bought for my loft in Michigan is nowhere near as comfortable as the two chairs I have in the studio. They're very expensive. They were designed to be set in for 5 or 6 hours in a day, not put your back out, be able to readjust, change the arm lengths, all the things you need to kind of do to stay comfortable. And you hear I'm adjusting things as I'm talking. This one doesn't have a headrest, but my other one does. So, that was a totally different story. When I was in a Govey, the chairs we had were like from 1942. So they didn't care about our posture. But finally, later on in the outgoing years, I finally figured out that's something important and got us good chairs. But, this is all stuff that we're dealing with and working remotely. And some of you are not working. Some of you are at home and, don't have a job and trying to file for unemployment and trying to stay busy and dealing with the kids. So we understand that. And that's why tonight, at the end of the show, I'm going to open this up and hopefully some of you are still here to hang out with me and we can a little chit chat. And if the conversation is good, we'll add it to the show ending. We'll leave it right in. So first things first is the big announcement coming out of Google. Google, we've been begging Apple to do an iOS app for Android. I know we've been begging Apple to do an Android app for years. And now Google put a shot across the bow and they just put a Google Podcast app on iOS. And this is pretty amazing what they have put together. And I'm very, very excited about this. And now maybe what Apple will do is maybe they'll launch an Android app. And basically Google has opened the door here. So if Apple would do a podcast app for Android, that would be big. It would be really, 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 really big. Moving on here, United Launch Alliance today launched a communication satellite for the U.S. Space Force. Went without a hitch. It launched out of Cape Canaveral, Florida, and went to orbit. Everything looks good. I kind of watched some of the replay. But again, this was a communication satellite of some sort for United Space Force. And really what this is this was probably a U.S. Air Force satellite before. Because you just don't form the U.S. Space Force and then have a satellite ready to go in a few months. It isn't how it works. So it was probably a U.S. Air Force load at some point. But anyway, they launched that today in a geosynchronous or a what was the word they used? Let's see if I can find it. It was like some sort of an aggressive geosynchronous orbit or whatever that means. And this is like the seventh satellite in the series of this because it was Dash 7, but pretty big communication satellite. So U.S. taxpayer dollars at work. And plus, of course, your taxpayer dollars are at work right now, too. They're just printing money. $2 trillion worth of printing cash. But a lot of people don't really understand the need for a space force, a top commander says. No one questioned the need for the Air Force after World War II. So why do so many people have issues with the Space Force? I think it's largely because the president came up with it, and anything the president comes up with, can't be good, right? So a lot of people think that it's something that doesn't need to be in existence, but it was added as part of the National Defense Authorization Act in December 20th, 2019. Seems like a lifetime ago. And U.S. Air Force Lieutenant General David Thompson, who also serves as Vice Commander of the Space Force, wants to counter any misunderstandings about the purpose of the new organization. He says the nation needs a Space Force because so much of our day-to-day lives depends on operation in space. He cited GPS satellites to help us navigate, and the satellites to provide us internet service in order to operate in space. Also, we have military aircraft that are getting their internet via satellites. In order to operate in space for the nation, for national security, for our forces, and perhaps ultimate for civil and economic benefit, we now have to be prepared to do that in face of threats. World War II sent combat truly skyward. Over the course of the war, more than 100,000 planes were built. In 1947, just after the war ended, the United States established the Air Force. Did you know the Navy still has more planes than the Air Force? Anyway, there might have been specific questions about the role of airplanes, but nobody really asked, hey, is this Air Force thing, what is it? We knew we needed it. So, we now know about North Korea launching suspicious objects in the Korean Peninsula. The fact that we can provide warnings to people that they are coming, people certainly understand that happens, but nobody stops to think, wait, how do we do this? And of course, that you've all heard about Cheyenne, Wyoming, and we've all seen a lot of the television shows that go around about nuclear launches and stuff like that, and the deterrent. That's a real deal. You've got people sitting in seats today that are monitoring for preemptive strikes on the United States. They're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the only way that can be detected is via land and air, I call them non-air breather assets that are watching for activity that's going on, or even just a local conflict. They can detect those flares of those. That's the thing that's cool about missiles. They light up like, you've seen the launch of this ULA rocket launch today. That's a big bloom. That's a big heat target. So it's very, very hard to hide a launch of a missile. Now, when they figure out how to hide that, then we're going to be truly in trouble. But anyway, so today was the first launch. And anyway, this comment from this gentleman on the Space Force. And Jody said she was able to see it from my front yard. I missed an opportunity when I was down in Florida to see a SpaceX launch. I completely forgot about it. So I missed that. Hey, FBI has arrested a man for hawking fake coronavirus prevention pill. Now this guy is an idiot. Idiot. The Justice Department arrested a California man for hawking a fake COVID-19 cure, marking the first federal criminal case tied to the novel coronavirus. Keith Lawrence Middlebrook allegedly advertised on Instagram that he had invented a coronavirus prevention pill. Now, anyone that does that on Instagram, number one, is an idiot to begin with. And an injectable COVID-19 formula vaccine cure. He claimed that basketball player Earvin Magic Johnson was on the company board and promised potential investor millions of dollars in return. He was arrested after delivering his prevention pills to an undercover FBI agent. He now is charged with attempted wire fraud, which carries a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison. So, according to California records, this gentleman, idiot, was, in my opinion, was previously arrested for wire fraud in 2014 after allegedly running a fraudulent credit score improvement business. And sadly, the case was dismissed in 2016, or he would be behind bars now. So I'm hoping this time this guy gets some time. We'll see. Now, we know state attorneys have also cracked down on virus-related scams, including New York AG Letitia James, who censored radio host Alex Jones for marketing toothpaste and other products as coronavirus killers. Missouri Attorney General sued to stop televangelist Jim Baker from selling his own ineffective and potentially dangerous treatment. How do people get sucked into buying this stuff? That is the question of the day, right? False hope. Just like someone's looking at stuff that you use to clean your fish tank and think that's going to be good for you. So, in a little more interesting news, Airbnb is asking its hosts to provide 100,000 free rentals to first responders. The home rental platform is waiving fees, but not helping hosts defray cost. Airbnb announced a new program that the CEO has called Free Housing for First Responders for dealing with COVID-19. The program asks hosts, the people who actually own properties that are booked via Airbnb platform, to note the rental without reimbursement from the company and apparently to bear the cost of following CDC recommended cleaning protocols. Now, if you're going to hey, come on, Airbnb, if you're going to ask these hosts to open up these rentals and then have to come back in behind and clean, you understand that's going to be a job. You're going to have to bring a team in, probably semi well protected, and use a lot of cleaning materials to clean the property after the first responder stays there. You're just going to have to do that. As of 3:30 p.m., 12,000 hosts had opened up their homes under the program. So Airbnb, come on, just cough up some money to help them buy these supplies. If I bought a few supplies, nothing too much because I had most everything already. But I bet you the majority of people listening to the show has probably spent at least $100 buying some additional cleaning supplies, paper towels, probably some toilet paper that you will maybe need for the next year. But you've bought some stuff by all indications on the run of the stores, and you've had to incur. Now imagine having someone come into a rental property or your home as a first responder, and then what you would have to do to get that house prepped in the times we live. So I think this is bad on Airbnb's part from a PR perspective to not help them financially clean those homes after those first responders have been in there. Now, 98% of the folks that stay there are going to be fine. There's not going to be an issue with any coronavirus hanging out afterwards, but they're going to have to, a responsible host is going to have to clean those places for that small 2% or 3% chance, especially if in the New York area, it's probably going to be even higher. So not only the United States is looking for respirators, but the folks over in the UK and everywhere else in the world as well. So the BBC is reporting that the UK government has ordered 10,000 ventilators from Dyson. And so they have one that they're getting ramped up. They're getting ready to sell. The firm headed by British inventor Sir James Dyson said it has designed a new type of ventilator. The order is still subject to the devices passing stringent medical tests. Dyson has hundreds of engineers working around the clock to design the ventilators from scratch. They're calling it a Blitz Spirit. It hopes to build the ventilators at scale from its UK base in Wiltshire, using aircraft hangars that were used to stop parachutes in World War II. However, the Blitz Spirit, the company is keen to channel, will not produce immediate results. It's going to take a little while to get them up to speed. But here's the scary part. Currently, the National Health Service has just over 8,000 ventilators. The government thinks it can procure a further 8,000. It estimates that NHS in the UK will need at least 30,000 to deal with the potential flood of virus victims. And New York thinks they're going to need 40,000 alone. So these ventilators, I think the ventilator business is going to be busy. Now, MIT folks have developed a cheap open source ventilator for coronavirus treatment. Now, this is a ventilator that does not have I'm sure it can be used to be incubated, but they just basically used a normal breathe bag and it's basically being compressed in the machine. So you got to hand it to, folks are coming up with something in a hurry, right? The event is based on a project that started almost a decade ago as part of the MIT Precision Machine Design course. Unlike the expensive mechanical ventilator at the hospital, this is a manual ventilator that personnel would need to operate by hand. Students designed the device for use in rural areas in developing nations where mechanical ventilators were not available or reliable. The team built a prototype and published a paper, but the project didn't move beyond that. So, yeah, you got to sit there and hand crank this thing. But if it's a difference between life and death, so it's an interesting device. Costs about $100 to build. And but the only thing is someone's got to be standing there turning it. And I bet you it could be modified pretty quickly to itself, right? All right, moving on here. Not that those are going to be in hospitals. France has designated a few of its trains to move patients to less hit areas. This is smart. The National Railroad System has converted a TGV high-speed train to help move 20 COVID-19 patients from Strasbourg to calmer hospitals in Loire Valley. Now, that's what I'm asking. Why isn't that happening here already? Why are we not taking, okay, so let's say New York gets to excess. Let's say they get to the point where their hospitals are full. Why don't they take military transports? We have medical transport, load up 30, 40 patients, fly them to, let's say, Kansas or someplace where there are low infection rates, move them into hospitals there that do not have an overflow issue right now to be able to treat them in different parts of the country as this wave of infections. I don't know if they're considering that, but this is what France is doing. They're moving patients to different areas of the country where there are not as many cases, putting them in hospitals there. And people are going to say, well, what happens when my hospital needs the space? Well, you keep enough reserve based on the current infection rate and make sure you're covered. And it's a shuffling cards thing. Move some patients around. I don't know if that's in the game cards or not, but you think it would be. So this is what France is doing. I think it's pretty smart. And in mass, okay, what would you rather have? If you're out of ventilators in New York, and the only option is to go to Iowa or Nevada or Texas to get a ventilator, I think I would be like, put me on a damn airplane and let me go to where there's a ventilator before I die. We can get people 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, no problem. Let's use the infrastructure. We got whole bunches of these people are already sick, right? Put 20 people on an airplane, put the flight crew in, and tell these passengers, strap in. There's no one with you. There's going to be no service. There's going to be no flight attendant, and fly them to location. We got hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of airplanes parked. We can do this. It only makes sense, but maybe we're just not that ready. All right, Tesla is planning to retool solar panel factory to make Medtronic ventilators. Medtronic CEO confirmed Wednesday Tesla will make one of its ventilators, and it's basically a model that they've already got. It's called the Puritan Bennett N80 980 ventilator series. It's one of their what they call a lower end ventilator. It's a basic model that fits the needs of what they need to do. So for me, I think this is pretty cool because what it ends up doing is Tesla doesn't have to start from scratch. This company, Medtronic, can just give them the specs, probably give them all the design, all the plastic molding and pressing data that they need, all the CAD stuff. And that just jumpstarts. Boom. Boom. We get the licensing, whatever. Let's just put these things in production. It definitely speeds the process up. This is the way to do this. All right. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Medtronic probably has part supply. They have, places to get stuff made. So this is how you force multiply what we need on the street over the next month or so. Or if we peak and don't need these ventilators, let's hope we don't, then guess what? You've got them ramped up. They make 100,000 of them, sell them to the strategic supply. They put them in storage, and they're there for the next pandemic. Of course, how long do these things have to sit before they have to be recertified? There's probably an all upkeep cost with all this stuff, but it is what it is, my ladies and gentlemen. All right, moving on here. Twitch Stream Aid 2020 plans to raise money for COVID-19 relief this weekend with a bunch of celebrities. So Twitch plans to put its community charity muscle to good use. It will feature hosts of celebrity guests, a lot of music, and a little bit of gaming. Think Uno and Fortnite. Then it will go live on Twitch channel at 12 p.m. Eastern and stay up for 12 hours. On the gaming side of things, streamer Nick A30 Amoni will be heading the Fortnite tournament, and his duels partner Joe Jonas. And then who's the celebrities they're going to be on? The roster of people that is set to appear at Stream Aid 2020 shows its ambition, which is also its name, a callback to Live Aid in the 80s. So anyway, I don't see all the list of presenters. Now, this coming Saturday and Sunday, there's going to be a virtual indie podcast conference. I'll be participating. I'll be doing my presentation at 5 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. But it's going to be going on all day Saturday, all day Sunday. If you want to learn about podcasting, it's called the Indie Pod Con Virtual Conference. I'll have a link up to it in the show notes tonight. So you got nothing else to do. You can't leave the house, right? So it's time to get educated. This audience, you've all been listening to podcasting. Some of you have been listening with me from the beginning. You probably know as much about these topics as maybe some of the presenters will. But you want to get schooled up on podcasting, and if nothing else, use it to learn and hang out and have fun. 2 days of live stream stuff. It's going to be done on StreamYard. It'll be on Facebook. So if you're watching this show or if you've got a Facebook account, don't worry. You can participate. 67 years ago, Jonas Salk announced a polio vaccine and did not patent it. So it seems worth noting this historical milestone 67 years ago today. He saved millions of lives, and this is notable given the current COVID-19 pandemic we're living with. However, at the time when we were having to be vigilant for giant pharmaceutical companies trying to game the system to get exclusivity, and the patent maximalists pushing for extended patent terms, it's nice to think back that he did not patent the vaccine and what it did for mankind. He saved millions of lives. And anyone that is old enough to remember polio and the effects, he's one of those heroes in the space. And let's hope that the world comes together and the pharmaceuticals that produce the upcoming COVID-19 vaccine don't put a bunch of patents on this stuff too. But greed is out there in America for sure. The rest of the world. So a little bit of fun news here. Somebody's got themselves a new MacBook Air. So alongside with the new iPad Pros last week, Apple also refreshed the MacBook Air, adding more storage, faster 10th generation processor, and updated keyboard. So the folks over at Mac Rumors picked one up. They say design-wise, no external changes to the body, though it does accommodate the new keyboard. It's just a little bit thicker. It's 0.63 inches thick at its thickest point, up from 0.61. And but it's got that keyboard that's not going to bust on you so much. It comes in silver, space gray, and gold. And it uses the same Retina display that was first introduced in the 2018 MacBook Air redesign. Most of what is new is internal, but there is an all-new Magic Keyboard with a scissor switch, which is the same keyboard added to the 16-inch MacBook Pro released last October. So anyway, here's kind of a look of the comparisons. You really can't tell too much. So anyway, MacBook Air, of course, there's a new MacBook Pro. that's available as well that's on the market. The RIAA has realized it sued Charter over a bunch of song it doesn't hold the copyrights for. It's been a year since the RIAA sued Charter Communication using same strategies used against smaller ISPs, Cox and Grande Communication, that the DMC actually requires internet access providers to completely kick users off upon receipt of multiple unproven claims of copyright infringement. And of course, the RIAA has been plotting out this strategy for better than a decade. We've talked about them at length and not too nicely over the many, many years. And so basically, they sued on a bunch of stuff that they didn't actually control. And now some may claim that it doesn't really matter if the RIAA and its various partners held the copyright in these works, but it absolutely does for a whole variety of reasons. Most obviously, you can't sue over copyrights where you don't hold the copyright. But it also shows the incredible sloppiness with which the RIAA and labels and publishers go to determine infringement. And that's why we keep pointing out, especially the folks over at Tech Dirt, that it very much matters whether you're kicking people off based solely on accusations when you're carpet bombing DMCA notices. So they still want to kick you off the internet, for sure. Now, YouTubers, they can't go outside. They're trying to figure out what to do. But they're doing stuff in their houses. They're trying to be funny. I don't know. I'm not watching too much YouTube right now. I am watching a lot of international YouTubes to see what's going on internationally. That's something I do pop around on. And I keep sending links and stuff to my kids, trying to make them understand where this is headed and where it's going. Yeah, my son today has got cabin fever big time, and he texted me and said, hey, I want to go out and hike. And so I'm asked, who's driving you? Are you carpooling? And he gave me the right answers. Mom's taking me. How many people are going? 4. Where are you going hiking? For how long? What are the parents doing while you're not hiking? So they're going home. So I'm just like, okay. So I, basically give them a lecture. You understand no grab assing. You have to maintain 6-foot separation. You understand you can get this. You do understand that you can make your mother sick, and the whole family sick. I said, you have to follow the rules. And we had quite a heart-to-heart on that. Before I would say, okay, you can go hiking, but it cannot be for 10 hours or 4 hours. It can be for a couple of hours. And you have to maintain separation between you and other people that may be hiking as well. And I said, this is not an excuse to go out and get 6 hours of hiking exercise, to pick a short hike to go on. So far, it looks like they're going to do just a couple of hours. And he understands he has to maintain social distance. And I explained to him, I says, in Hawaii, they're already on lockdown. You read the rules. Read the rules, understand what's allowed and what the limitations are. So, you can get a $5,000 fine or up to 1 year in jail in Hawaii. I don't think the cops are going to do that to poor kids that are doing social distancing. But I said, if you get caught, I said, you don't want to be on YouTube. You don't want to be on Facebook or be in that group that's all hanging out together and had made an example of people that aren't following the rules. I said, the people are on the lookout for people doing stupid stuff. And I said, do you want to end up on CNN or Fox News? No. Okay, I'm telling you, because if you're grab-assing or you're not maintaining social separation, someone's going to take a video of you. I said, you can be a good example and maintain social separation, and you can go on a hike. And so I understand being locked up in the house when you're 16 years old. Very, very difficult. But I want him to play by the rules for sure. Okay. I don't think this is going to happen based on the hotspot in Wayne County here in Michigan. But Ford wants to start up their production line in less than 3 weeks. And we'll see. We'll see what happens here. If that actually happens. I don't know. Time will tell. But the Detroit area is a hotspot right now, and it's a little bit crazy. Hellboy, yes, the movie Hellboy, must explain calculation for the $270,000 privacy damage claim. So we haven't seen one of these in a while. The makers of the movie Hellboy recently asked for $270,000 in privacy damages against the operator of the now defunct tort site MKV Cage. Basically, the U.S. magistrate judge recommended denying the request. It was unclear how the movie company ended up at that figure. As a result, Hellboy must go back to the drawing board and figure out how they came up with that number. So these big fines for 4, 5, 10, 20, 30 movie infringements. Come on, $270,000. I understand what's written in law, but some of it's a little bit insane. Any of you out there doing Uber or Lyft driving, an Uber driver reportedly dies from COVID-19 after picking up a sick passenger. And of course, drivers are not offered paid sick days or health insurance coverage, but there has been something in this $2 trillion or $8 trillion or whatever bazillion, billion, trillion, gillion dollar bill that's coming out of the Washington, D.C., which they took, a week too long to put together. There is going to be some allowances for gig economy. Private contractors are going to be able to apply for unemployment. So I told my son and daughter, who both drive for Uber and Lyft, I said, you need to start putting together your earnings so that when you go in and whatever this provision is going to allow, and when you apply, you're probably going to have to show proof of how much you've made over the last 4 to 6 weeks. I'm sure that's going to be parted into the equation of how much money you're going to get. So we'll see where this goes, but this should not be a surprise. Sadly, Anil Supa was a Nepalese immigrant in his 40s who lived in Queens. He had a wife and 3 children. According to his cousin, he picked up a sick passenger from New York's JFK during the first week of March. The experience scared him enough that he stopped driving for Uber, but it was too late. He developed COVID-19 symptoms and checked himself into the hospital about 2 weeks ago. His condition worsened. He had to be hooked to a ventilator. 2 days later, early Tuesday, he died. And so apparently he knew this passenger was sick. At least he knew he was sick, and it scared him so much he quit driving. But there's so many people that are asymptomatic, you don't know if you've got a sick person in the car. How do you wipe down a car after every... I'm wiping my car down. Let's say I go and order fast food, and I get my cup, and I get my bag of food, and I put it in the car. I get to my destination. I take the food out of the car and I'm basically kind of wiping and I'm trying to, because you don't know, right? So there's nothing perfect, but as I said something earlier on Facebook today, I washed my hands at 1:00 or 1:30. And I was working at my desk, and all of a sudden my brain said, you need to go wash your hands. It was only 1:45. And I'm like, you don't need to go wash your hands. You haven't done nothing. But this thing is getting in my head, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Are you guys feeling that too? Where all of a sudden you're seeing yourself going to the sink to wash your hands for no reason? My hands are starting to get dry. They are. Because what do I use for hand soap? I use, Joy, what I use for dishwashing soap. That's what So Dan said, hey, Todd, it's a lot easier to catch. You live since you're not in Hawaii. Thanks for a great info share. Yeah, I think it's easy to catch anywhere right now. Hawaii's got 100 cases. Next week, it'll be 1,200. So it's an international hub. I'm surprised that it's been as low as it has been. And yeah, I'm here in Michigan, but I'm in a county that as of today had 0, but I heard that tomorrow we're going to have 12 infected in my county. The county I'm in up to this point has had 0 confirmed cases, probably a lot of walking around unconfirmed cases. We've already been social distancing for 2 weeks here. So, it's pretty obvious people are staying away from each other a lot. All right, AT&T Verizon will waive wireless overages fees during pandemic, but you have to ask. This is dumb. Verizon just gave it. T-Mobile just gave it. But if you have an AT&T account Oh, AT&T and Verizon will waive overages fees, but you have to ask. Good luck getting in touch with them. So use the internet to your heart's content and then call them and ask for the credit. It says when a Verizon customer experiences hardship because of COVID-19, Verizon will waive late fees and data cap overage charges for 60 days. Oh, from March 16th to May 13th. For customers who let us know they're unable to pay as a result of the economic hardship due to the pandemic, and we will not terminate those customers. If our customer experienced hardship, they should call our customer service team to discuss the situation and available options. Ars Technica asked Verizon whether the users will need to show proof they can't pay in order to get relief, but the company didn't answer. AT&T announced that the waive charges fees and surcharges indicate users don't have to show proof of financial hardship to have the charges waived. Keep in mind that U.S. consumers, thanks in large part to the regular capture, lobbying, and the monopolization of fiber lines that feed cell towers, already pay some of the highest prices for wireless in the developed world. We knew that already, right? So just have the link up in the show notes for this. You can check it out. Also, new rules out there could finally clear the way for self-driving cars. For the first time, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is weighing in on autonomous vehicles with no driver behind the wheel or no wheel at all. Today, more than 60 federal standards govern the design, construction, and performance of U.S. motor vehicles, down to door locks, windshields, and electrical wiring. These adjusted standards that they've just put in place would nix some rules related to rider safety for autonomous vehicles that carry goods like groceries but no people. They'd address the protections needed when steering wheels and steering columns have gone the way of basically don't need it anymore. They would examine how airbags might work in a car newly configured to drive itself and consider barring children from the front left seat of a vehicle where the steering wheel traditionally lives. The rules would also clarify the definition of a driver, which the agency has now decided it will not change within the standard. Instead, it will clarify within each mention whether driver refers to a fleshy human or the advanced driver system that might one day operate cars on their own. This is a reversal for the safety agency, which said in 2016 that it would legally redefine driver to treat the Google self-driving system as one. So lots of changes here. And talking about how seats within a driver's vehicle will be allowed to face each other or whether they can recline. So there's a whole bunch of stuff here. We're still a ways away from having a self-driving vehicle, but I'm going to tell you, my Ford Escape is close. It's really, really close. Obviously, I bought the full package on that, and when I'm on the highway, you still have to watch it, but I can only imagine another 5 years, according, the folks at Tesla have got it pretty well nailed, but they're also still killing people. So it's, in 5 years, we could be at a point here where we're close. So, basically the thing we're going to have to watch out for now is delivery vehicles without a human in it. That's where the wrecks are probably going to happen. Slack. Boy, everyone uses Slack. I'm a big Slack user. Got a Slack channel for this show. Got a Slack channel for my business. Got a Slack channel for friends to hang out. Slack is awesome. So Slack stocks pop 15% after CEO reveals spike in user growth. And it blows me away that people weren't using this before. They've seen 9,000 more net customers. And that means a company is 9,000 new companies have started using Slack. And a cool thing about Slack, you can do video chat. You're on Slack, and all of a sudden you're talking with somebody, and it's taking too long. You just hit a button, it pops, and you can do a video chat with the person you've been slacking with, get the conversation over real quick, and quit. I've used it 12 times in the past week. It's faster than setting up a meeting. You just, bam, boom. You want to talk to someone instantly, you say, hey, I'm going to bring you up on video. They say, okay, click it. They answer. You have the conversation. You get off. It's terrific. It really, really is. It allows you to have open office hours. When you're at work and you're not in the office, you're remote. People can pop in and say, hey, got a question? Can we talk about this? It works really, really well. So I don't know if the video version is only for paid customers or not. We pay for it. It's $5 a head or something like that. We're just hired a brand new team to do some work for us that I can't reveal on the show, but set up a channel. Their team and my team are on a single channel so that basically all their team members and my team member can share information back and forth on this project we're working on. And when we're done, we just disconnect the channel and each of us go to our own separate businesses. But it's amazing. And I don't have to set up special meetings. We have to do email. In a matter of literally, I connected the teams together this afternoon, and within about 30 minutes, they had 4 or 5 questions they needed from us. We provided 4 or 5 questions. There's a couple of outstanding questions. We're going to do a write-up for them, provide the information. We're getting all this logistics done that would have required 5 meetings. As a matter of fact, I said, we're still planning on, do we need a meeting for 11 o'clock on Monday? Because we were planning on meeting on Monday. And they said, we'll let you know tomorrow afternoon if we need to have a meeting because I was going to do most of this stuff. And if we do need a meeting on Monday, maybe it would just be a quick touch base, bing, 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 and we're done. According to the Register, Brits are swarming Dixon's car phone for laptops, printers, game consoles, fridges, freezers to weather the storm out. I heard deep freezers sound like crazy because people bought all this extra food and they need to freeze it. It was like that story of me being in the grocery store and a lady having a whole shopping cart full of frozen food. And I said, wow, how many freezers have you got? And she looked at me like, wow, and started putting stuff back in the freezer section because she realized she didn't have enough freezer stuff at home. But I guess everyone is buying deep freezes as well. Online sales are up 72%, but the retailer warns of impact of store closures. You don't have laptops already or buying more stuff for the kids? I guess. I don't know. It's interesting. All right. Amazon warehouse workers are outraged after a coworker tested positive for COVID-19 and they weren't notified. All right. So here's the problem. We've got HIPAA rules where if I get sick and tell my employer, they can't just like, hey, Todd got sick. I have to voluntarily tell people, hey, I'm sick. You just can't. It's against the law to share health information like that. So they're outraged because rumors started going. So 10 Amazon warehouse in the U.S. have had COVID-19 cases where often heard through rumors. Hey, Charlie's missing. Where are they at? Or Tony or Susan. Where are they at? Are they sick? What's going on? And they went to their union or went to Local 4 News and received a confirmation from Amazon. Now, I think Amazon is obligated to say, hey, we had someone get sick, not say who. Don't you think they have an obligation at least to say that, keep the person's privacy? But what if it's and everyone all of a sudden notices? It's a fine line, I think. Workers at DTW5 said they had confronted management. They were told that 5 workers who had been in contact with the infected person had been informed. Workers feel that is far from sufficient. Their jobs often take them to different parts of the warehouse, and they share a break room, restrooms, and equipment, making it difficult to say precisely who may have been exposed, which is true. Many are balancing needs to receive a paycheck with potential risk to themselves and their loved ones. So when an employee says, here I am, a week after being exposed to it, I've already been to work 3 other times, 3 other days breathing on people. This is how this thing is getting out of control. So what say you? What say you? Greg says, hey, it's happening everywhere. Military and DOD. Yeah, military and DOD, we work close together. You're working on airplanes, working on stuff, you're right. If you're meching or you're doing something, you're like in the airplane. Oh, bumping each other. You bump shoulders walking down the tube. It's basically the inside of the airplane. There's chairs and stuff in the way. There's no way you can, when I was sitting and flying, I could reach literally and tap the person next to me. The person was that close. I've told you guys the stories years before that when we would fly, when it was still allowed smoke in the airplane, I have a guy smoking beside me on either side, and I might as well just smoke because it was so you can't avoid it when you have 12, 13 people on a small airplane. You're all intermixed, and they don't have the HEPA quote unquote filtration systems that commercial airplanes do. Oh no. there's no HEPA quality ventilation in military aircraft. That doesn't exist. And if you're a junior rank, you may have 4 people to a room. Now it's changed a lot. Most of the junior guys now have maybe one roommate, but you still have one roommate, and you may have 2 different jobs going to 2 different places. So, oh yeah, the military is prime for people to get sick. It's just because you work on top of each other, literally. Uh, well, those of you that IndyCar racers are race fans, Indy 500 is postponed due to coronavirus, and it's going to be pushed to August 23rd. You know, one thing that I've never really been a Formula One fan per se, but Netflix has this great series on Formula One. I didn't realize there's only 20 drivers at any given time that are driving. There's 10 teams, 2 drivers to each team. And it's fascinating. If you are at all into motorsports and weren't following Formula One, the thing on Netflix is pretty incredible. It really is. It's a great series. It's probably one of the things I've gotten enthralled in. Hey, real license deadline pushed back to 2021 amid coronavirus outbreak. Department of Homeland Security announced the deadline has been pushed back a year. So if you don't have a star on your driver's license, yahoo, you get a 1-year waiver. Not that we're going anywhere anytime soon. That's for sure. Shoko was asking me, come back to Hawaii. I'm like, and come back in quarantine for 14 days? No, I've got to work and do this. And when things calm down, then I'll be able to make a trip. But I'm not getting on an airplane going anywhere in the near future. YouTube and other Google services go down for many. There was basically a router someplace that died. It wasn't from an overloading. Said, very sorry about that. We had a router failure in Atlanta, which affected traffic routed through that region. Things should be back to normal now. Just to make sure this wasn't related to traffic levels or any kind of overload. Our network is not stressed by COVID-19. All right. YouTube goes down, the world falls out of control. All right. So there's a good article on space.com talking about before and after pictures showing, and we had an article like this the other day. You can see space pictures, basically of parking lots and where people are congregating. And it's another great example of the change to the entire world and the livelihood thereof. My daughter just sent me a message. What did she say? Okay, I won't repeat what she's in a family chat having some comments. Stay updated on travel advisors and airline policies. There's a good Google's tracking all this on what's going on, tells availability if you do have to travel, the advisories for each destination, talks about hotel openings, closings, and so forth. You can track prices. If you're thinking about booking something for 2 months from now, you can see what's available. And I'll probably start doing that soon, figuring out what's available 6 to 8 weeks from now and just kind of make planning. I'm not going to buy anything at this time until we figure out what's happening here. And if there's going to be offered flexibility and making reservations and so forth, but Google's tracking a lot of that. Link will be up in the show notes. And there's a Michigan doctor offered advice reducing the risk of infection when shopping and bringing home groceries. I've been doing it all wrong. It makes me a little bit like, whoa. And also, I heard today that if you pick up coronavirus on your shoe and you walk into your house, that they say coronavirus can live on the bottoms of your shoe for a long time. All right. I know some of you are very, very crazy about, in Hawaii, you take your shoes off at the door and you don't bring the shoes in. That's pretty much standard. But the rest of the way in the United States, that's unless you have an Asian household, that's not the case. You walk in with your shoes. They're saying start adapting Japanese style traditions. Leave your shoes outside. And I'm thinking, okay, so how are we going to do this? If we've been tracking in COVID-19 and it's on our floors, our pets are running around laying on the floors, our pets are jumping up on the couch hanging out with us. So that means we're all going to have to at least do one disinfection of our entire floor. and then leave the shoes outside. Amazon sells great shoe racks. Oh my God, life has changed completely. All right, so this is going to bring the regular part of the show down. I'm going to open it up to people to call in here in a few minutes. But if you, and we're going to do this on the next show too. So if you are listening to this podcast, you can, and I will probably be trying to start, and here's the thing. I had a little flexibility today. I could start a little early because I did the show prep versus Kirk, but I would expect Kirk to do the show prep next week. I'll try to start like 7:30. We'll see how that goes. But don't worry, we're going to have the Skype line to be able to call in at the end of the program, so you can jump in and watch the show live on the Facebook page, and then again be able to dial in if you want, and we can have a little chat about anything on your mind: tech, workplace, family. It's going to be kind of an open discussion here. Kind of spring this on you folks. Today I've had the banner up the entire show. So the Skype call-in line is GNC Pod 1. If you're sitting out hair trigger on that, wait just a second. I may have to approve you. I'll look at that here in a second. But for those of you that are, I'm probably will continue this, but I'll do the official sign-off, geeknews@gmail.com. Definitely support our sponsor, GoDaddy. Think about becoming an insider at geeknewscentral.com/insider. Also, thought about maybe doing a co-host a couple of times during these weird times. So if you want to jump on and co-host with me during the show, drop me an email. Happy to have you on. We can have a chit chat. Should be a lot of fun. So just doing a little experiment here during these strange times. But definitely thank you for your support. And this is the end of the regular portion of the show. We will continue on at this point. Again, geeknews@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. And with that, the caller line is open. Yes, and let me flip back here and bring the Skype screen up so I can see if anybody is asked to become a friend here. So, GNC Pod 1 on Skype. You can Skype video in, and feel free to dial in if you want to dial in. You don't have to worry about your makeup. Don't have to worry about what you look like. We'll even accept your audio issues if you have them. But again, this is purely an experiment here after the show. If no one says they want to come in, we'll finish this. But it's open now for any of you that want to call in on Skype, GNC Pod 1. And I'm just looking at the stream and seeing how many people we've got on. Probably about 10 people across the different platforms are on at this time. So, is everybody doing okay? Going too stir crazy? And again, you want to Skype in? GNC Pod 1 is the Skype address. Don't be scared. You can come on in, have a conversation with me. But I am not going to sit here and wait and beg. We're going to go ahead and bounce out here in a few minutes if no one pairs up. Oh, Skip, you're downloading Skype? Okay, we'll wait for you. Yeah, pretty insane what's going on in the world today. I guess I can leave both of those up. I did a live show with Mike Dell on our Podcast Insider this morning, and that turned out okay. And I actually think that I'm broadcasting on one of the channels I shouldn't be broadcasting on. I should have went over there and looked at that and killed it earlier. Yeah, let me go over and look at that. Is anybody even watching on that channel? Let's see here. Way down the page. Oh, it didn't show up. Thought it would have. Maybe it's. Oh, there it is. Yeah, no one's watching on this channel. Let me delete this. Yes, Toby. Netflix F1 Drive to Survive. That is a great, great series. Oh, okay. That's good, Skip. Where are you living now, Skip? Are you on the East Coast? Are you out in PAX, or where are you at? Give you guys a little different view. I think that camera needs to be dialed in a little bit more. Doesn't look. Yeah, I guess it's okay. All right, folks. Skip, I know that you're trying to get set up, and happy to have you on the next show. If you want to come on after the end and join us midstream or whatever, I'll probably do an event announcement to try to make it a little more formal. I just thought about this about just like how I normally do, like 10 minutes before the end of the show. I said, or before the show started, I thought, maybe I'll invite people on at the end. Oh, you're down in Jax. Did you get to see Shag while he was in Jax recently? I know Greg was down there. He's back in Hawaii doing self quarantine. We're talking Greek, internal friends. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here. And we'll be prepared to do a little more aggressive promotion after the end of the next show. I won't just spring it on everybody. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of the family. And I'm going to go ahead and bust that out. See if I can do this right. See you later.